Everyone, you are listening to Resistance Radio, and this is the WideShut Webcast with me, Keelan Balderson. As always, you can check out my articles and videos at wideshut.co.uk, and for everything Resistance Radio, check out resistradio.com, and of course for the live streams, blogtalkradio.com/Resistance Radio. So I'll do the customary mic check. Can everybody in the chat room hear me okay? As always, I will be uploading a high quality MP3 version after the show. It's not the automatic Blog Talk Radio file that comes up afterwards. I've seen people are still downloading that version. That's the same quality as the live stream. Instead, I also put a different link in the description. That's the high quality version. And you'll also be able to get it on YouTube afterwards as well, probably Sunday morning. So sorry for standing everybody up on Tuesday. I've been a bit sick with a sore throat and a fuzzy head. So, you know, there's no point doing a show if I could barely talk. But we're back to normal schedule next week, so you'll hear me on Tuesday as well. And it kind of serves me right, you know, binge drinking, eating Burger King for 2 weeks in a row, obviously battered my immune system. And funny thing is, I bet if I phoned up the doctors during the swine flu hype last year, they would have probably said I had swine flu without even taking any tests to prove that the virus was there. Of course, that's how real swine flu was, basically just made up statistics. And for those living in the UK, this year's seasonal flu shot automatically contains the swine flu shot as well as a double whammy, because they're obviously trying to unload the backlog that they couldn't get rid of last time. And they don't even make this clear in the letters. There's been a few news reports in the mainstream media. I don't think it's really been hammered home. So if you have any elderly family members or, you know, people in your family that do get the seasonal flu shot and you haven't brought them around to that, at least inform them that they'll probably be taking the swine flu shot at the same time. Not a good thing to hear. Anyway, lots of good shows last week here at Resistance Radio, and of course this week as well. I really enjoyed Lee's analysis of the DEMOS paper. Me and Britt have been having a bit of a debate with the DEMOS guys on YouTube, on Mr. Britt's YouTube channel, because they made the claim that the conspiracy theorists are the ones that won't entertain alternative information and alternative evidence. Of course, we're the ones with the alternative evidence and information, but never mind. Bit of, you know, semantics tricks there. And, you know, they're basically saying we're contradicting our positions. But Britt simply put together some of the eyewitness accounts of explosions on 9/11, made a video about it, and, you know, made the claim, no, it's you guys that aren't engaging in the alternative evidence. And we're sort of going back and forth on the YouTube debating with them. They seem to have a lot of time on their hands, really, for an award-winning think tank to come and debate us. But, of course, that's part of their new sort of policy that they want to get through, which is to openly infiltrate these types of, you know, groups, conspiracy theories, and offer their, I guess you'd say, official version of events to try and counteract what we're doing. But I'll just paste in that YouTube link to the debate. If you've got anything interesting you want to add, feel free to do it. If you've got a YouTube account, you'll see the debate in there. Please show. I'm glad that he brought up the wonderful David Aranovich, who seems to have made it his mission, you know, to debunk and mock conspiracy theories, or as supposed conspiracy theories, and not just counter them. He does it in such an arrogant and condescending way. See how anybody, even just your average citizen, can be to this man, and the way he carries himself is just not a nice guy. And for him to think that he can debunk more or less every alleged conspiracy theory in one book is itself a rather arrogant belief. And that's my main issue I find with these mainline debunkings. They're far too generalized. And I don't like the term conspiracy theorist either. First off, a conspiracy theorist isn't a type of person by any measurement. We're not all from the same, socio-economic background. We all have different educations. We're not a religion. We don't have a book with the rules in, how to be a conspiracy theorist. We're not a race of people. I mean, you can't trace us back to the 4 tin hat tribes of ancient Mesopotamia. We don't claim to, all these different things. We don't have a membership card or a ruling council. And most importantly, we certainly don't agree on everything. So to use this catch-all term conspiracy theorist is ignorant and lazy to the topics that we're addressing. When does one become a conspiracy theorist? Who gets to define what one is? There's a big difference between believing the Iraq war was a lie. Tony Blair might think someone who thinks the Iraq war's a lie is a conspiracy theorist. The difference between that and thinking you were abducted by aliens with complicity with the government. But both of those people could be described as a conspiracy theorist. So I think the term's not specific enough. Using the intellectual debate, and it automatically holds that negative connotation. It's just a buzzword. Asking theorists, don't let them, they just pick on things that the government have got right to do. That wouldn't make us a conspiracy theorist by definition. Excuse me. And in the DEMOS paper, to be fair, they do make that distinction. They don't use the catch-all term conspiracy theorist. Instead, their paper has a list of what they call extremist groups, and then a list of what conspiracy theories these groups are supposedly believed in or doing. And they try and make that link between the conspiracy theories and these extremist groups. Of course, the problem is that their starting point is that the conspiracy theories these groups supposedly believe in are false, and therefore played a role in the extremism of those groups. But as Lee quite rightfully pointed out, the idea of a new world order, for example, wasn't something made up by conspiracy theorists or extremists. It was a term created and used by politicians and powerful people to refer to the reordering of how the world was to be managed. And it almost always refers to some kind of global system. So if extremist groups point out that Poms are calling for a new world order, some kind of global governance, then they're correct. And any extremism based on that fact, it doesn't lie with the conspiracy theory itself because it's true. The root cause is the politicians calling for a new world order. So their premise that theories are partly to blame for the actions of these groups that they list, I don't think it holds up to scrutiny. Now, I condone violence. The groups they do list, of the ones I know, are, batshit crazy extremist groups. But if people are violent, how can you blame it on a conspiracy theory if it's admittedly true, or is at least discussed but not explained to the general public? Maybe DEMOS should be doing papers on how the illegal activities of the government cause distrust. Now, they do call for the government to be more open and honest about their agendas. We're all for that. Well done. But to be more transparent, that's what they're calling for. But surely the lack of transparency is the cause of people's distrust. Whereas they're trying to make the claim that conspiracy theories are driving a wedge of distrust. I think it's the opposite way around. If we didn't have lying, cheating governments that invade other lands and don't tell us the truth about things, if we didn't have that, then we wouldn't be saying, there wouldn't be a truth movement, would there? So I think they've got it the wrong way around. And in quite an obvious example of doublethink, they state at the end of their paper that the term New World Order was used by world statesmen after both world wars to describe a new values-based approach to global governance. That's what they state at the end of their paper. That's what the New World Order is. Yeah, I know, it's in my film, 7/7, The Big Picture. That's the problem. Global governance. We want to debate global governance. We want it to be openly discussed so that people can democratically decide whether we want it. But no, we're just the lowly peasants. We're not allowed to say anything about global governance. We're not allowed to talk about the New World Order. If we use our democratic freedom and oppose the concept of global governance, if we try and bring it up, if we try and have a debate about its pros and cons, if we point out the globalists' own writings, if we discuss events that have brought us closer to world governance, if us lowly peasants say any of these things, we're kooky conspiracy theorists. But at the same time, the intellectuals like DEMOS discuss it as if it's a harmless fact of life, as if we just don't understand what it means. They go, yeah, it exists. It's just a value-based approach to global governance. Well, what's a values-based approach to global governance? All right, I understand. It's when we go on peacekeeping missions via the UN and bomb other countries until they adopt our way of thinking. Got you. No conspiracy there. And they have the conspiracy theorists are unreasonable and refuse to look at the evidence and refuse to debate. Well, how about we have a debate about the New World Order and we'll see who brings up the most evidence? Crazy stuff. And their report is only 55 pages long. 55 pages. I'm sorry, but that's not a scholarly research paper. That's like a piece of college coursework. That's what I was doing a few years ago at college. It's a fluff piece. First off, if they wanted to produce something that meant anything, they'd have to adequately debunk all the conspiracy theories they mention, or at least provide background research. Else they're just starting from the preconceived notion that they're not true. Then they'd have to, document the history of all these supposed extremist groups that they've listed and that believe in these theories they've put forward. I admit I haven't heard a lot of, I haven't heard of a lot of the groups that they've put in this report. And all Demos has done is made a small chart with a sentence about each group. And so where's the detail? Are we just supposed to take their word for it? This is the major problem with debunkings and papers like this that are popping up. They're just too generalized. But then they mask themselves as being intelligent and authoritative. My film, 7/7 The Big Picture, is full of quotes. It's full of history and newspaper clippings and experts in video clips and all sorts of stuff. It's over 4.5 hours long. This Demos report is virtually empty of any substance or research. They briefly mention the 7/7 conspiracy theories, as if it's a foregone conclusion that any alternative information is just false. Well, where's your counter information? Where are your sources? Where is your research from? Or is it just your opinion? Just because you claim to be an expert doesn't mean you're an expert, and that we should automatically believe your paper.